to the bottom of the page, the very last paragraph, it starts out, men and women drink. All right, here we go. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented, unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity after they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops. They pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless the person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. On the other hand, and as strange as it may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. All right, Paul, that is our small reading for this morning. I looked I saw in the chat that today we have a new person here with us. Her name is Natasha, and she wrote in the tech chat that it's 6:30 for her, and it's her third meeting today, and she's on her third day trying to learn the program. So I just wanted to put that out there so that we can welcome our newcomer today. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mike, and Paul Alcoholic, nice to be back. Yeah, this reading, it's sort of, let's say we all have a similar set of programming. And some of the programming is we have free will. We have the power to direct our will to do things separate than other people do things. And then when things don't work bad, we have the power to sort of recognize that and stop and do what's best for us and what's best for others. And there's a lot of these assumptions. And then when something takes you over, called alcoholism, those assumptions, because of the belief in them, produce a lot of frustration and confusion and bewilderment because we don't understand why I can't control stuff. Yeah, because if I am the long-lasting, independent, separate thing and I have power and I can enforce my will on topics and have them bend to how I want it to be, in other words, not fitting myself around things, but things fitting around me. Yeah, it's incredibly bewildering when something has taken you over and disguises itself as you and starts running the show. Yeah, seriously. And of course, there'll be a huge denial of it, but other people who've been taken over by the same sort of parasitical movement will recognize the similar symptoms and the effects, yet you'll be constantly acting as if it's a choice, or I can stop if I wanted to, and stuff like that. And basically, I feel if you look at it as a parasitical movement, it isn't a parasite. Yeah, you don't see it on a CAT scan or an X-ray. Yeah, it's not a thing. It's mental activities. But to picture it as a parasite, something that we're familiar with, the real basis of that imagery is to see that which is defeating you as other than you. Yeah, so that there's a possibility that arises when that understanding occurs, which is I can be free from it finally. And one of the bewilderments is all our attempts to be free from what we think is going on, we're trying to be free as what we think is going on. Yeah, there's an identification as that which is seemingly driving us crazy. So we fall under that huge category of self can't get out of self, And why did they come up with that? Because a lot of people are doing exactly that. They're trying to get out of self as self. Why would they come up with something that, they would have said self can get out of self, and this is the advanced level of recovery. Self can get out of self. No, it's a statement because people observed the futility of doing just that, and they gave it to the community, thank God, so that other people that show up and start experiencing the futility can have an understanding already available that may fit what's going on, which is self can't get out of self. That's why it's not working. That's why it's not working for the way Susanna is constructed right now to escape the way Susanna seems to be. It just can't happen. Yes? It's not. And then what happens is when it expresses that fact, the self-centeredness uses it to beat ourselves up with. Well, other people can get out of self. Yeah. It's because of my incredible faultiness, my defects of character. It's an impossible. Yeah, and I'm watching everyone all day getting out of self. No, you're not. You're not getting, no self is getting out of self. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of this assumed belief structure doesn't get threatened much in a regular life. But if you bring about an addiction to it, it amplifies what's going on. Yeah. So what you may not have been seeing when everything was rosy, you start seeing when something has entered your life, like a foreign pathogen, you recognize it. Yeah. Hopefully, because it's painting with a very broad brush. It's hard to miss. Yeah, really. I mean, if something wanted to get your attention, it should have gotten our attention by now. Yeah, like we're screwed, so to speak. So, so yeah, people want to drink because they want to escape self. Yeah. Because when they're obsessed when the obsession with self is going on, it produces an irritability, restlessness, and discontent. It's agitated, and then we're agitated. Yeah, and so we try to do something to soothe it, and basically, it tells us the disease tells us what to get at the pharmacy. Really. Yeah, it sends us to the pharmacy to get what it says is the solution: alcohol, drugs, shit like that, which only promotes the disease even more because we're listening to it. Yeah, it's speaking to us as us. Yeah, it's a heavy-duty combination. Yeah, it's so. I mean, I hope it must trigger some sense of camaraderie when we talk about something taking us over. It sure felt like that in hindsight. When I look back on it, basically, Paul was just a vehicle it used to express itself. It doesn't have arms and legs, to stir things up. So it uses mind. And all the while, every time I'm in the pit of defeat, I can't see how or why. Yeah, I can't see that it was self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. I don't see that because there's the act of being identified as self. Yeah, so we think that which is defeating us when we have self's manifestations appearing in our lives, we're blind to that recognition because we call them ours. It's one of the fundamental basis of life right now. Yeah? Are we in an act of being identified as what we're not? Which could have just gone on for 70 years, but then it piled on. An addiction landed on self and amplified it. Yeah? Alcoholism brought out the worst of self, so to speak, so that you could see, hopefully, you can see by its fruits or by its manifestations, you can see what tree you've been sitting under. Yeah? So then you finally recognize the problem. Instead of looking from the problem, you see the problem. Yeah, it's a huge change, a huge difference, I feel. Yeah. And I think it had a lot to do with, a stabilized traveling lighter for 33 years now. So I think being clear about this has a lot to do with how things are right now. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. This is why, they describe the effects and the loop of getting loaded, then the remorse and everything like that. But they don't. It's not clear in the book what's the exact nature of what's going on, and we're just trying to add something to it. Like it says in a vision for you, the vision for us that this power is going to constantly reveal stuff to us. Yeah, and they would state where they were was they only knew a little, and more was going to be added by other members. Well, here you go. We're attempting to put out a diagnosis and back it up with, the stuff in the book. We didn't put page 64 in there. We didn't, erase a paragraph and put being convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. They put it in. Bill W. and the people who wrote the book put that in. And it seems to be in a very important position because it's right before the inventory process. So that we can, what are we going to do an inventory on? Self. Yeah. Why do we do an inventory? How do we feel like we're doing inventory on us? That's usually different, yeah? Because it says being convinced that self manifested in various ways has defeated us. So we go into the inventory process and we do an inventory on us. And self just keeps disguising itself all freaking day. I walked in, my resentments, my fears, my harming other people by looking at the sexual behavior, and I left with knowledge, but I still left with my resentments, my fears, my harms done to others. Something was missing in the process of 3 and 4. Yeah? I feel. So now I don't see a resentment as mine. I see the head telling me it's mine, but I'm not buying it. It's trying to send me some free samples. I don't care. Yeah. Resentment is just based from it's a seeing from a myopic view, basically. Yeah. So what happens when the spiritual awakening then gets developed? Your view gets more panoramic. So maybe you'll feel like somebody's screwing with you, but then suddenly the rest of the theater gets to be noticed, and you say, well, wait a minute. What the hell? Am I going to pull the guy over and get shot at and then go to jail for what? It's crazy. So, yeah. This is, I'm just going to pound it away. I am. And I'm going to just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Because I do not feel, if you don't see this, you're going to be looking from the problem. Yeah. And you don't want the problem to be critiquing the solution. You just don't. Yeah. I don't want to hear from self how I'm doing in recovery. I don't. I don't want to go to the patient to get a diagnosis of the disease. Yeah. I wanted to have that come from a higher power, so to speak. Yeah. So happy to be here. Thank you. I don't know if I actually talked much about what was written, but whatever. Yeah.
It's awesome. I don't see any hands up right now. Oh wait, hang on. Yeah, I do. Eligio just pulled in with a question. Eligio, come on in, Mr. King Baby.
Yeah, I'm running out of questions, but
Okay.
I think I know the answer. But what do I do with the pathogen, or is this the pathogen asking that question?
Well, that's going to be up to your own individual experience. Let's have faith that it's something else other than the pathogen asking what you can do, and then just listen to a sponsor or someone you respect in the program and take their suggestions. And if they work, take more of the suggestions. Yes? That's called sponsoring. Sponsoring is a verb. It's a suggestion let's say it's an offering of a suggestion, and what's realistically expected of the sponsee is to take the suggestion, check it out. Yeah, don't have contempt prior to investigation. Hopefully, in your new condition, you won't have that, and then you just see if it works. And if it works, there'll be more suggestions built on that suggestion. Yeah, and then perhaps that's the better way. So yeah, ask someone who you're working with, well, what do I do? And they'll suggest some stuff. Why don't you have prayers in the morning, get a commitment, make sure after 6 months, go on to H&I. Yeah, do that. And if you don't take any of the suggestions, that's not sponsoring. Yeah, sponsoring isn't a noun of sponsor and sponsee. It's an act. It's a verb of suggesting, and then the person trying it out, and then building on that suggestion. Yes, and then leading the one person through the process, because it is a process. You don't want to start doing the 9th step at the 1st step. You need to be conditioned and changed sufficiently to really have the clear spirit of the 9th step by the first 8 steps. Yeah, they lead you to that ability to do the 9th step in actually how it was, the spirit of it, not as a mea culpa or to try to get out of feeling guilty, but something else, a willingness to have things change. Yeah. So, yeah. So ask someone see, sometimes people, I wish certain knowledge wouldn't come out so early. Let's say the knowledge of non-duality, because then you start thinking about the 1st step from an intellectual non-duality position, and you just get more confused. Just fucking keep it simple. Yes? Ask the person you respect, what do I do? See if it jives with the book, and then just get into the dance of the steps. Yeah. Yeah. And after a while, you'll know what to do. When you remember before, I was in so many situations that I didn't know what to do, but I did something anyway. Yeah, which really jackpotted me. We admit we don't know what to do, and that opens us up to listening to other people's suggestions concerning this disease. I don't mind. I want to hear from someone who has recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body about how they recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I do. It's especially when it seems to be hopeless for me. Yeah, I'm open to follow some suggestions. Yeah. And if I would have had some intellectual knowledge that would have fucked with me in there, I would never have stayed sober. Yeah. Thank God I got dumbed down until the point I could think a little more clearly, or at least receive some new ideas based on the new design of living from recovery. Because usually in the beginning, if you're seeking so many new ideas, the head's trying to replace recovery in a sense. It wants to see, if I don't need to do this, I can have this, have the same, but this is a specific target about the insanity that precedes the first drink, yes? And that what they finally realized was needed was a spiritual awakening to keep that insanity that precedes the first thing and have it be sanity that precedes the first drink, which means you don't have the first drink. So you never start drinking. Yeah. So you don't have to become a master of how to stop drinking. You just don't start drinking. Yeah. That's the that's the gift of sobriety, really. So, yeah, bro.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you prefer?
Just ask some people, hey, bro, what did you do to stay sober? All right. Well, they'd say, well, I thought prayers in the morning when I woke up was pretty good. So then maybe try some prayers. Yeah. I thought, getting commitments at the meetings I go to would be great. And it really worked.
Pray to who though? It's like pray to what? Like what? the point of that?
Hmm?
What pray to what? Like pray what? Like
Don't
pray,
pray to what? Pray.
pray.
You just pray. It's not this, you're not the setting the direction. Just use the serenity prayer. Yes? You say, hey, as a fact, hey, please, allow me to have the courage to face what I can do and then the wisdom to know the difference and all like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Thank you.
this is a little, see, if you're a real addict and an alcoholic and you try to apply non-duality for recovery of that, it isn't going to work in most cases. Yes? Because non-duality doesn't have a handle for you to use. It frustrates that wanting and desire to get a handle of things and use them. Yeah?
Yeah,
It,
I'm on day 3 and I'm frustrated. I'm on day 3 again and I'm
yes.
frustrated.
Yes, well, there you go. You're frustrated because what you think will work hasn't. Yes? And this is what we surrender. Yeah. Sometimes we surrender the intelligence. Sometimes we surrender what we think we know, or we're willing to. And we put it aside and just take some suggestions other than from your own head. Yeah. Yeah. And then what will happen? You'll be sober for a few weeks and some momentum will build. Yes. And then you'll see, then the spirit of the program will become alive. Yeah. Because you're going to be the instrument that it plays itself with. Yeah. It's got to bring you into a better repair. Yeah. And then you're going to have the spirit of the program. But, yeah. I didn't even know, when I most needed it, I didn't even know there was AA. Yeah, I had heard it. I actually had gone to a meeting from a judge years before, but it never even came up. I ended up making a 2-year commitment. I could have gone to a 1-hour meeting maybe. I went to a program because I didn't know what else was going on, and I had to make a 2-year commitment. I moved in and stayed there. If I would have known there was a meeting around the corner, that may have been the easier way. Now, people have tons of spiritual knowledge, but their cup is full already. Yeah? So it just sits on the surface like foam. Yeah? When you drink, you never really drink the foam. You get what's underneath it. Yeah? So something has to, yeah. This is how it goes. If I'm not a self, then I'm not an alcoholic. Though I'm fucking in a drunk tank, sit like that. This ain't making sense. Yeah.
When I'm in the drunk tank, I'm like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you're going to return quickly. There's a lot more in the drunk tank to learn than in a book. Yeah, a spiritual book. You'll learn more about your present tense condition by realizing where you're at than what you're reading. We're with you, bro. But you try to see the importance of first things first. Yeah. You have an active case of alcoholism. Yeah. Active. It's not subdued. It's not in remission. You just were 3 days ago loaded. You need, all those other ideas are out there and they'll be out there. But you need to have maybe recovery as the primary focus. Yes? And don't try to bring in other information. Just take the information of AA and then just see, and then take suggestions of someone who's been through this program, and let's get sober. Let's get into the habit of being sober. And then the next time you read some book, you won't be trying to use it as a way of escape. You'll read it and you may be able to absorb the information, and it won't just go in the head, it may drop. Yes? Yes. Yeah. It's a different feeling than when you're constantly looking to try to get out of something. When you read a book, that intention's in there, and sometimes it neuters the book's information. Yes? Yeah. It's almost as if you're using it as a drug or something. It doesn't work that way, I feel, especially non-duality, because it's not going to give you shit. It ain't. It's just gonna explain how you're not really. Yeah. So, all right, bro. Yeah. Someone may hear if you stay after the meeting or come back, Eligio. There's some people that'll be here. Maybe if you don't have a sponsor, ask them to be a sponsor, a temporary one, and take a suggestion or two today. Yeah. Based on that, you're only 3 days sober. Yeah, and you're your own worst enemy in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, bro. This is one of the, this is a multi-purpose event, Zoom. Yeah. This little community here. And we got a wide berth. Just bring in your fucking alcoholism and park it here and ask for someone to, help you. Yeah?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Eligio. Kim, we have Kim.
Yeah, hi.
Kim?
Thank you. Hi, Paul. Everything you just said really applies to me. I'm sure it applies to everybody, but it really resonates with me today. And I think I answered my question, but I thought I'd keep my hand up anyways, to see how my thinking is tracking. So I'm on step 1, and my issue with step 1 right now is I absolutely see I'm powerless, not just over alcohol, but I'm powerless over self, essentially. But my head says when I'm in an unconscious state. When I'm in a conscious state, or when I'm not in self, like it's this channel I can flip to, channel 1 is self and channel 2 is conscious. And when I'm conscious, which I think I am right now, because I'm not in self, I'm not suffering from self in this particular moment. I could be in 3 minutes, who knows? I have a choice. Right now, I would not pick up a drink. I see the absurdity in that. I'm in a sane state of mind, and I do not want to pick up a drink. I do not want to do anything to fuck up my life. But I'm in a conscious state. And so I'm confusing that with power.
No, it's also power, but what's going to have a huge influence on the power is what's directing it. Yeah. So you are power, but the point is, if the mental state starts directing it, we get certain consequences. If the higher power or this way of life is directing it, we have other consequences and other things get established. Yes. And so that sense of consciousness can be established over time, where the self-conscious aspect blurts in here or there, yeah, but it's not the same old, it's not the norm, it's not the standard of your day-to-day condition. That will get established in time in AA, yeah? So you'll see, instead of having 2 conditions vying, or before it was self-dominant, now you seem to have 2 vying. You're going to have this, the other is going to now be dominant, sort of like the self was earlier. Yeah, that's the whole point of the better way, which could be described as, let's say, the self phase is reliance on the head. Yeah, it's having faith in the finite self, and the other, the conscious stage, is having faith in the infinite. Yes. So you get more established in the second one, and you get radio broadcasts from the first one still, but it doesn't grab your attention and cause an action. And specifically the action of picking up a drink. Yeah. So you now live a day at a time, not trying to be sober. You're in the habit of being sober. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not choosing not to drink today. I'm not. That choice has been galvanized already a long time ago, if there was a choice. Yeah. I'm in the habit of not drinking. It doesn't come up. Yeah. I don't find any attraction in it, and there's no interest or much attention. I don't even have thoughts about it, which is awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, and this was a gift that was given, but it came through the program. Yeah. A lot of gifts are offered. Some come through the program of AA. And this one came from the program, through the program of AA. That's how it was delivered. That's how it's maintained. That's how it got established. Yes? So, yeah, you're in that phase. And so while you're in that phase, like we say, it's great that, on any given day, we're not all insane. Sometimes you may be in that using your terminology, but someone you're working with in AA isn't. So they can give you a view from the light, so to speak, that will reveal the falsehood or the unreliability of what's being presented in your head. Yeah, yeah. So it's just a change of habit, and the force of that is the program. We're in a process, and it's not like we change. We submit to be changed. Yeah. And you're a happy camper watching the results. So you allow more and more of it to. You don't put a struggle up. Yeah, you realize the doctor knows what it's doing. You stay on the operating table. You don't get up and you don't play doctor. You just let life do its thing. Yes. Yeah. Not with blind faith, with complete evidence of its wisdom and its win-winness and its inclusiveness, not exclusiveness, and its largeness. Yes, and you could say seamless. Yeah, and it just treats you a whole lot better than your old employer. Yeah, yeah. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Remember, we have a new employer, Kim, now. Being all powerful, it's going to take care of us if we stay close to it, which we can't be far from everywhere. So that requirement's met, and do his works well. It's a very vague. There's no you got to do this work well. It's do his work well, or that power's work. That power's work is a vast. Activity. It's not like a very small defined way of life. We need a small defined way of life in the beginning, and then it opens up more and more. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That's why the service and all that stuff is when we can't seem to distract that selfness. There's things to do that have worked for others that work. Yeah. Doing service, having commitments, calling up another alcoholic. These things work, and they give you that immediate relief you need when that engine's starting to kick over. After a while, the threat of the engine kick over doesn't scare you anymore. And you're not, now instead of doing service, you're of service. That may entail doing a lot of service. It may entail, sitting with your kids. But there'll be an attitude of service that will become a dominant quality of you. Yeah. And these things. This is what AA does. AA actually gives us a new attitude and outlook upon life. That's unbelievable, really. That's like deep, deep work. You can't do in a weekend retreat. You're going to have a new attitude and outlook on life. That's freaking awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of power afoot already. It's what's directing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, yeah. That's what I realized when I was in hindsight from my life out there. I remember, I had like magnetic appeal to people in uniform when I was loaded. So I knew there's a strong lighthouse here and I'm attracting the wrong ships. You know what I mean? Something got to direct that lighthouse or I'm going to be fucking incarcerated the rest of my life. So, I came into the program and that ampage of that power is pretty good, but now it's much more wisely directed. Yes. So there, I had a sense of a power going on by the effects that were fucking incredibly. Like, I mean, it's hard to get run over by a car, but to get run over twice by the same car in the same night is pretty fucking. You gotta realize there's some juice going on. You better surrender it to a better director than what was directing my life. Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna be used, yeah. The new employer obviously implies there was an old employer. And I think it sort of implies it's probably good to know the old employer so you can recognize it. The old employer as self. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If it don't, even while you thinking you have a new employer, it may be the old employer working undercover. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyone else, Mike?
No, I don't see any other hands up. If we have any other hands, anybody have a question today, we can use the raise hand feature or just unmute yourself and come on.
Or anything, whatever they want. Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't matter. I don't care. We just don't want like a 20-minute ID probably, right?
Yeah, it's not a speaker meeting.
Yeah, yeah. Just, no, yeah. I remember I first went to Australia. The meetings were an hour and a half, which I was used to an hour. And then a lot of them were ID meetings. So someone would start, just in the audience would start sharing and it would be the whole story, like 15 minutes and then another 15 minutes. I was like, hey, I wasn't going to a speaker meeting. I had like 6 speakers and, yeah. It took me a while to get into the habit of an hour and a half. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with the Zoom. I was used to going to the bathroom after an hour. Now I've got it down to an hour and a half. It's like a camel. I've adapted to the way things are. Isn't that an incredible quality? To be able to adapt to the way things are? Seriously? Isn't that flexibility of spirit and action, isn't that one of the gifts that was given to us?
Absolutely.
I definitely feel that. Before, man, it was my way or the highway. It was very right or wrong and black and white.
Rigid.
Very rigid, extremely rigid. Yeah. At the point of breaking at any moment. Yeah.
Yeah, you broke out.
What?
You broke out in handcuffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy everyone's hopefully doing fine. And if they're not underlying, they're doing fine. Yeah.
Paul, I really like what you were saying about how we need to do the action steps of the program because well, like for me, for example, my head wanted to take this idea of non-duality and run with it so that, oh, now I don't have to do steps 4 through 9. You know?
Yes,
And
yes, of course.
that
You
idea
can,
that,
any head is going to do that because the head is looking at things not in a receiving way, but in a getting way. Yeah.
right,
It's looking to see what can I get out of this. And basically it's almost like a form of escape. It's constantly looking for a form of escape. And that applied to certain invitations doesn't work well. Yeah, it just doesn't. And so if I'm in AA and I'm looking to replace AA, that thing that I may want to replace it with may be incredibly beautiful, but it's not going to work for me because it's going to cause, yes? Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's my own, just that's my experience. I've watched it. Yeah. A lot people I don't know. I guess it would be if anything that you were established in, you'd always want to find a substitute. So, I mean, I don't see how Buddhism will look like more sexy than recovery, but fucks to some people it does and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Another thing my
Buddhism
head
is nice to people, what?
another thing my head liked to do was when sometimes when you said, like you shared one time a long time ago that, like you don't sit and meditate anymore. Well, my head heard that and like, oh no, I don't have to meditate either. But what what Michael forgot was that Paul has some comparing Michael that has a year and a half of sobriety compared to somebody that has, over 30 years established in this thing.
Well, in fact, there's a lot of meditation going on, but I never call it meditation.
My
Yeah.
head didn't hear that.
Yeah. In other words, like at night, sometimes at night, I wake up and then I'm just there for a long time. But it's great. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. So, but the idea of meditation as an act sort of invites a claiming of that act to reinforce this idea of being a meditator, which I'm not into.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of the things that I was brought to, which represented a certain type of freedom, got co-opted by the identification as the one that was doing the actions. So the act of freedom was a form of bondage, and so that was a rude awakening, and I had to take stock in a different way. Yeah, and so I do shit without having a name on it. Yeah.
No label.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I see it. I see we have David D. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
David has his hand up right now. David, do you have a
And
question?
one more thing, Michael, one
Yes.
more thing. The prayer and meditation were suggestions, but the real intent was to improve one's conscious contact. That's what it says. It says, whatever it does in step 11. But it's not just to do prayer and meditation. The point of it is to improve one's conscious contact. That, as you stay in the program, you're going to have thousands of ways to improve one's conscious contact. It's called living a day at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, every time you meet a tree or see a bird or talk with a person or whatever, look down or whatever, those are the act of being conscious. And if you think being aware of being conscious is the way you improve it, you're vastly improving it every day. Yeah. It's just that we're so out to lunch, we have to do it in a certain way to remind the possibility to regenerate. Yeah. And now yeah. So, all right, but put on Dave. Sorry, I jumped in again.
David B, come on in. Thank you.
Well, thank you. No, it was great. Thank you all. But I'm asking the question because the room was kind of quiet and there weren't other questions going on at the moment.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot, kind of ironically, thinking a lot about like self-concern, right? And how the head is like constantly inviting me to the table to come and suffer, in some way. And when I'm psychologically suffering, I'm always identified with a thinking pattern about, about this being a self, and obviously it always has to do with something is wrong in the moment or could go wrong in the future, and I've got to hedge or strategize against it. So it's always this reference to, to kind of a finite self in a way, some kind of fear. And, that will come in, and then there'll be this whole head drama and the identification with it, and then it'll go away, and there's spaciousness and this whole like, oh, how silly was that? And then, I'm invited, dozens or hundreds or thousands of times a day to come suffer again, and I would just kind of wanted to ask, is it just a matter of like seeing that through so many times that you stop accepting the invitation? Because I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. It can go that way. It can go a lot of ways, but that's one of the ways it can translate here. Yeah.
It looked,
You see, let's say there's thousands of opportunities to go into that. Let's say you used to go 300 of them. So 300 out of 1,000. Now it's 200 out of 1,000. That's progress in time, ain't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And so you watch, and then you hit the point, well, because in the head, a lot of times the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yes. So you're missing out because you think you should never take the invitation. In fact, you never did, but let's just not go there. But yeah. So there's a growth that's going on that the person who's exhibiting that growth probably doesn't know as much. Like they say in AA a lot, the new person comes in and the people that have been there see a lot of change in the new person before they do. Yeah, because there's something that doesn't want them to see that change, which is the parasitical takeover. Yeah. So this is what happens. So that's why gratitude and the idea, because again, the head wants you to, there's bigger fish to fry. No, let's just stop for a second and see, hey, it's getting better.
Yeah.
Fucking far out. What does that indicate? You're in good hands. Yeah. And then what happens? You're in the hands no matter what. Instead of being contracted and holding, you start letting go. So now you start enjoy peace of mind and shit like that. Yeah. And but you're always in the hands. So, but it's how you're responding. And then over time, you just loosen up more and more. Yeah. And then you live as if you're taken care of. Because you are, in a way. Yeah. So, yeah, this is part of, to me, recovery progresses. We talk about the disease progresses. I believe recovery progresses. So let's say I got 2,000 emails. I only responded to 800 of them. That would be a great day if I used to respond to 2,000, yeah? So now it's down to 200 or 100. Then the head, seeing that its power is dwindling, starts saying, well, that's not enough. I want perfection. It's got to completely stabilize, you see, to discover, to hide the tracks of its diminishing, so to speak, yes? So now people are frustrated because it's not perfect. That's from the head, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would happen? Some people, if you went from 0 to 60, you would have appreciated the ride. So this is a way of appreciating, and in that culture, gratitude grows and a lot of good qualities. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's always the head.
And you're not in jail today. That's a pretty good one. You're not in jail and you're not going to the hospital. Hey, things are looking up.
Yeah.
So recognize it. Also recognize what says it's taken the invitation isn't you. So you see the thief, and then you see the policeman also. Yeah. The self has two aspects. Yeah. It's the thought about, and it's what's thinking about it. Yeah. It claims both positions. it objectifies you, and then it's subjective, and then it talks as if you're an object as the subject. They're both aspects of selfing.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in twos. It's disguised because we look like a single entity, but we're basically chock full of this or that. Yeah, subject, object, yes or no. Yeah. Like some people would say we're a binary system, which is dualistic. Yeah. So this is what's going on. But when we look at us, we see us as an object and it's singular. So it gets a sense of being separate and independent and singular, but really you're the thought about, and then you're the thinking of, and it goes on and on and on. So, when you're recognized as the thought about, that was just a second ago being the thinking of. So, yeah, this is about seeing one, and it leads to seeing the other. And then there's something, before, when you see one, captured in AA term, that would be sincerely taking a position. When you see both, it's being established in a condition. Yeah, you're now recognizing selfing. Yeah, yeah, because it's a subject-object event. As soon as something that becomes an object, that which is claiming to be seeing it is the subject. That's the other aspect of selfing. That which is claiming the awareness of the object is selfing. Yeah, yeah. Once you see both, after a while, you don't have to see any of it. You just know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bullshit, really. And then it becomes more comedy material than anything else. Yeah.
Right, right. Because it seems the invitation to flip into that thing is always something having to do with like, that can't be it, or it's not enough. Is always any strategizing towards happiness is already coming from like a place of fear if it's coming from like selfing. Does that
Yes, yeah. Because it's the condition it's in is being produced by its concern of happiness. It's not looking for happiness. It's using happiness to induce the condition has you seemingly in. See, the happiness is the story, but the effect right now is what it's looking for.
in his suffering?
Yeah. So don't fall for the advertising.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
No.
But
It's
then when
because then when you're in happiness doesn't have enough drama. You want something else, I think I'll cheat on my wife just for some fucking fun. What could possibly happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, lock it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, the spiritual awakening is like what mostly you see in that condition is what you're not. You just see that which you used to look from. Yeah. We were looking from this pile of activity. Now we're seeing the pile of activity. Yeah. It's completely different. Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah. So, I mean, now you can see alcoholism where before, in all intents and purposes, you were alcoholism. I mean, that's an incredible shift. Why would that end or stop? It's still growing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Nice to see you, David. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll try to become a friend with you on Facebook. I haven't gone there in a while, but I will. I probably have 8,000 requests and I only know a few of them, who the hell they are.
Yeah, no,
What the hell?
No,
It was scary. I used to just sort of hit, all right, confirm. Then one time I looked at the thing and it was like a soft porn site.
Right.
Yeah.
Marketing and,
I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was Magnus something, Magnus Amati or whatever. I said, wait a minute. I can't befriend this. Fuck, crazy. Yeah, so then I went the opposite by not confirming anyone for a while. So yeah.
For sure.
You're in, David, even if I say yes or no to you in Facebook. Yeah, you're already in.
Yeah, that's totally cool. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, you're a lifetime member of Then Bitch Stop. That means. You have easy access to Paul H.
I really appreciate it. I'm very happy to be
You may
here.
call him, but he probably won't return your call. It's not personal.
No,
Yeah.
sure.
Nice to see you, David. Thank you for your participation. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your service and everything you do. Thanks, Paul.
Oh yeah, it's fun. All right. Anyone else, Mike?
Yeah, we do, Paul. Hey, we have Gabe, but before we get to Gabe, I have Amy in the chat.
Yeah.
She's at work. She's at work right now, but she has a question in the chat, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay, Paul? And it says, I experience a lot of freedom from self through the teaching of non-duality. That being said, I struggle to not identify as the person or entity that harmed my children when I was drinking. And when I identify as that person today, I suffer and I don't help my children either. Do you have any comments about this? So she'd like you to speak on that a little bit.
Great. That's what it's working. So you were in a condition or brought to a condition, Amy, that non-duality could work. There you go. Great. That's my my response. Fantastic. That's what I like to see. Yeah. It's a beautiful combination. It's not about, I'm not saying yes to this and no to that. I'm saying which needs to be first, so to speak, in this thing of time. Yeah. Is non-duality going to really work if you're freaking shooting coke and drinking like crazy? Maybe you need to get sober first. Yeah. And so now maybe, Amy, the sobriety is somewhat established, and now that which was, let's say, allowed to occur through recovery will be illuminated through non-duality. Yes? Yeah. More possibility of freedom will be available, seeing you're not the one who did that stuff. Definitely. Yeah. So I feel that that's a great, it's demonstrating what I'm just feeling right now, clearly. So great. Yeah. What I'm concerned with is the head, in another way, in another attempt to keep running the show, wants to replace what it's definitely afraid of, let's say, which is maybe recovery, with freaking anything else. Yeah. And so I want to me, when people talk about spiritual bypassing, that's how I see spiritual bypassing. You may have some work that needs to be done. You want to bypass that by saying I'm not a self or whatever. Yeah. But without any weight to it. Yes. And then usually it collapses on you. Yeah. And you're drunk and shit like that. And so, not that the ideas are wrong, there's not an ability to let them, it's sort of making I don't want to say a cocktail, but making a drink. Yeah. It makes total sense to add recovery and non-duality, but maybe recovery first and then non-duality. Yeah. So just maybe throw in a little recovery first, then add a little non-duality, and it'll really enhance the drink. I don't think non-duality is going to replace the drink, because it's basically saying the glass is empty completely. So, yeah. That's my feeling. And it's been borne out through observation over years. Yeah. I watch people, just like when I was in the first step and I wanted to get relief like a drug addict. So I called up an ex-girlfriend, it would have been better if I waited till the 9th step to try to get a little feeling of better by, having her say, "Oh, it's okay, Ball." But then I called her and she got on the phone and she says, "I never want to hear your voice again this lifetime." So I realized, hey, that's not working at step 1. I've got to do the shit and then maybe at step 9. Yeah. So I learned that way because I was looking at calling that lady not to make an amend in my life. I just wanted relief. Yeah, I was feeling fucking guilty like hell. And I wanted to really, like, she started as a runway model and she got introduced to intravenous drug use with me. She was a fucking wreck. Yeah. You know, and so I took that, obviously, being the doer and everything. I had a lot of freaking remorse and I wanted some relief. So I called her up and thank God it didn't work. And then I started to realize why step 1 is where it is and why step 9 is where it is. Because it's not like I go from 1 to 8 to 5 to 4. I do it as a process because each step sets me up for the next step. And yes, and so the process builds on itself. Yeah. And I can't just randomly choose, oh, I think I'll, replace everything and just concentrate on 11. Yeah. I'm just going to pray and meditate myself out of this. No, it probably won't work. Yeah. So, yeah. So that was thank you for that share. Yeah. I'm hoping it's getting through a little. It's a subtlety, but don't you see sometimes when you move to go somewhere or do something, it's trying to replace something else? Your head just doesn't want to sit down and do an inventory, so it becomes a Buddhist monk. You know what I mean? It can be that insane. I'm taking a vow. I'm going over to Thailand. It does, doesn't it? It does shit like that. So, not as extreme, but it does. So, I found being totally beaten in a way made me malleable for a lot of stuff that I heard to really land. Yeah. When I heard about non-duality, I was sufficiently like tenderized for some of it to soak in. Yeah. So, yes. But you know what? We're in a world of information now, and tons of information is available, at just a hit of a key. And a lot of that stuff, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mike. Anyone else?
Yes, we have one last question with Gabe. Gabe, thank you for being patient. Come on in.
Okay. Where is Gabe?
Hi, my name's Gabe. I'm an alcoholic right here. Yeah, at the risk of being very obnoxious, I have here, this is my grandpa's dictionary from 1935. And the only definition it has under meditation is deep thought. And under meditate, it has think abstractly and think upon design or purpose. Like for me, I like stuff like that, just basically trying to see what they were, the book they were working from back then. But, I mean, meditation for me, like I guess it's kind of like, in the guise of like Eastern meditation, but it's more just like I get a lot of hypertension and like I get really anxious sometimes. And so I think like sometimes just sitting down and breathing does have like a lot of good benefits. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that people pick up in an AA meeting and just start running all sorts of different directions with. And it got, somehow, muddled with Eastern philosophy that may have been part of what I think they borrowed from a lot of different belief systems and outlooks writing the book. But I just think I don't know, for me that helped just because, I mean, when it starts as basic as that, it means that I can kind of make of it what I will and not have to feel necessarily, like you said, like I have to go to some Buddhist temple or something like that. But anyway, no, it's kind of a cool book because you can go back and look at things like trudge and these things that people make these really happy definitions, and you can see what the actual authors meant by that. And people would say,
Yes.
like, oh, trudge the way of happy destiny. Like, oh, it's just walking with determination. It's like, no, it's actually walking very laboriously and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's all I wanted to add today.
Thanks, Gabe. Yes. Always good to see everyone, really. Anyone else?
No, Paul, that's it for today. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, good. I need to clean up this house. We got home last night, so yeah.
Glad you're back, Paul.
Yeah, let me say hello to everyone. We got PK, UK, sitting there. Yes, there he is. We got another Paul. Yes, nice to see you, Paul, over in the UK. We have Joseph C. from France. Ruby Rose from Wichita. Nice to see you, Ruby. Hold on. Hold on, my cat's trying to get in the door. Hold on. There you go. Come on in. It's as if a different family has moved in. It's coming in very suspiciously. Who's here? All right, we have Stefan on Having Never Left. Fantastic. Jacob, as always. Michael, Stacy, David, Bitterman. Hold on one second. Hey, Amelia, can you put a link to that nonprofit thing on this? On the, I may put up something on Thursday for this nonprofit group in Moab, Utah. If you could, I'll explain it more. I think somebody's thing is on. Yeah, that's good. Now, never mind. We'll try to. I wanted to put a link to the non-duality
Put it
thing.
here.
Can you send it in the chat?
Hold on.
Hey, Michael, we're gonna put it in the chat. If you're
Okay.
interested in it, they're trying to get some recognition, which will help them do more of what they want to do. And they're good people. We were visiting them and we spoke for them in Moab.
Here. You want me to
Okay.
Yeah.
type it? You have to type it. Wasabi.
Well,
Moab. No, it's easy.
Oh,
Like
can you?
that.
all right. Amelia's taking over for a second. Chat.
Thank you,
Chat.
Amelia.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. It's for a good cause.
Thank you.
So no, wabi. So sorry.
B.
Bi sabi.
Sabi. S-A-B-I.
.org. So you guys go on this site. It's in the chat.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, I know it then, hon. Yeah, if you go there and say vote for them.
you don't know what's them.
Oh.
Did I have to go to heart space?
All right, hold on.
Then once you're there, you go to heart space. There's different heart space like that. And then you press it and you vote for them. And particularly for, I don't know how to get in there because we already voted. So it won't
Well,
let me go in there.
well, they'll do it.
For the human resource, what was that?
I don't know.
Human something.
Whatever, human something.
Human something.
Human
Well,
resource.
whatever. If not, we'll try to get it up there on Thursday better.
And who-
But these
and-
people, they're pretty sincere and, yeah, I like to help them.
What was
All
the
right,
name?
so let me,
again? The group we're supposed to
what's
vote
the name? I think it's Heart Space or something. Heart Space. Heart Space.
Oh, I see.
All right,
It's
let me-
actually, it's actually under healthcare, health, and wellness. That's the
Yeah,
category.
all right.
Okay. Thank you.
If anyone knows how to do it better, yeah. Just if you vote for them, they may get this recognition that they seem to need or to do more work. All right, we got Connor. Nice to see you, Connor, in Dublin. Dublin. Jacob, Michael Stacy, Alex, as always, Hudson Valley, Tommy, Mickey, Walter, Carl. What a murderer's row. Wait a minute. I got to say this again. Mickey, Walter, Carl, and then Kristen. She's the assassin. There she is. We got Terry from Maine. Nice to see you, Terry. Oliver from Berlin. Amy from Seattle. Was that Amy's share before? Yes?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Fantastic. That was great.
Uh-huh.
Hey, and we've got Raven King. Wow, I like that. British Columbia. Yeah. And other people, Chris and Gabe and Raven. Oh, there's Raven King. She just appeared. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll be back today at 4:30 Pacific time. We do a non-duality. It's on the website under events, Awakening Together with a group called that. And then Thursday, we're back in the recovery, and everything is on the website, zenbitchslap.com. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, Paul.